What's up, guys? Ben here bringing you another video today. It is the first week of the Major 4 qualifiers, an important cycle for a lot of teams because it's going to make or break their ability to qualify for chance, and some teams will be going home because they're going to be in the bottom four. So let's dive into an interesting-ish week of matches starting on Friday. I will give you my predictions, give maybe a little bit of betting insights, so let's dive in. All right, so we're done, I believe, with the 2 match day Fridays, which is really nice. But we're going to have some pretty stacked Saturdays and Sundays. So the 4-match thingamabobs are back. So interesting on that front. Anyway, let's dive in. We got a lot of matches this week. We're going to start off with Toronto and Seattle to kick things off. A bit of an interesting one. You know, Seattle definitely had a pretty good Major 3 cycle. So did Toronto. So both teams come in are probably feeling pretty good about where their game is at. Although Toronto did lay that big egg against OPTIC in the grand finals. And for Seattle, as good as they played, you know, they didn't really beat any of the top 4 teams during the last split. They lost to New York. Actually, take that back. They did actually beat New York early on in the split. They lost to New York at the Major, lost to Toronto, and lost to FaZe, but they were fairly competitive in those series. So I think that when you look at any like 2.5 plays, and I look right now, the spread is plus 2.5 for Seattle, minus 250. Could be a pretty good parlay leg because I expect Seattle to take at least one map in set. But realistically, I think Toronto win it. So I'm going to say 3-1 Toronto. It's Seattle still in like a hard point or something like that. All right. So the second match, Boston versus Minnesota Rocker. Boston obviously playing with MAJORMANIAK, who is now replacing Pentagram on this roster. Boston basically chalked for qualify for champs. And Minnesota has a chance to get through, but they need to really get it going after a lackluster stage. They couldn't win respawns. I don't really see that changing all that much. So for me, I think the angles, interestingly for this one, I think MAJORMANIAK and S&D could be a pretty fun angle. If you can get him somewhere around the 5.5 number, potentially 6.5 as well. I would say for, Minnesota, they're probably going to start winning respawns, but Boston is a hard out. And I really think over 4.5 could be a good play in this series. So I got Minnesota Rocker in a game 5 over Boston. I just don't trust these guys. And the fan predictions have been 65-35 for Minnesota. That seems about fair, to be honest. All right, and last match is LAG versus Carolina. Carolina favored in this one. LAG online, well, they're trash. I feel pretty good about Carolina taking this one. Clay will be in Carolina. So I got Carolina 3-0 in this one. I can see LAG maybe taking a map, but I'm going to predict 1-3-0, and that'll be this one on Friday. All right, let's move on over to Saturday. LAG versus Thieves. Damn, LNG got really shafted with this last match Friday, first match Saturday kind of blender. I think the predictions have it pretty heavily for Thieves right now, but LAG did beat them earlier on this season. As you guys know, LAG have the inside on this matchup, and I really don't trust Thieves all that much, but they should win this match. So I don't know what to do, bro. I don't know what to do because I want to predict Thieves to win, but I feel like they're going to let us down. I'm still going to pick Thieves. We're going to say Thieves game 5. You know, Dangosi obviously going to play well, but I'm not convinced by the other 3 on Thieves and LAG. Don't trust any players on that team, but I think LAG will find a way to make this series interesting, and we'll go from there. But I think the in that case of a game 5er, the LAG 1.5 could be interesting, but I think it'd wait to see how they play on Friday before you think about taking that. They could be completely checked, but they're still able to qualify for champs, by the way. So it's not really over for them. Toronto versus Vegas. Look, I don't want to spend too much time on this one. Toronto is right now on Bet365 a minus 1,000 favorite in this matchup. Vegas can't win searches. I can't see them taking a map in this one. I think it's a Toronto 3-0 slammage, whatever you call it. And this next one's also an interesting one. OPTIC versus Miami. Now, Miami will be playing with Purge. A bit of an interesting angle. I'm going to fade him probably this matchup if he has decent lines. Be able to fade, but the books might be a little bit aggressive there. We'll see. So for OPTIC, this should be a farm edge and good for the head-to-heads. I just don't see Miami taking a map with a stand-in. I'm going to say OPTIC 3-0. Then the last match on this date is New York versus Carolina, which could actually be kind of interesting if New York are struggling. Now, right now, New York are 83, so let's say 85-15 between New York and Carolina, but Carolina did beat New York recently, and by recently I mean last stage, and it was online in a game 5. So I think it's gonna be hard for them to do it twice. It really comes down to Carolina stealing a sub base if that happens again. Are they gonna win 2 searches against New York? I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say it's in New York 3-1, but I won't be surprised if New York loses again. And I do think that there are some really good angles here from a betting perspective. I do think that game 2 Carolina could be a really good play in this one to get the right kind of odds. And game 1 could be really gameable if you see the maps. And, there's a +1.5, -1.5 situation right now. I'm looking at bet 365. Carolina's like +100 or +1.5. So I think it's going to go game 5 and you don't really care about who wins. That could be a pretty good angle in this one. But I think Carolina could be competitive, especially with them all being Carolina. I think they have a chance, but I think likely New York's going to win. All right, let's move. We got 4 more matches on Sunday. Seattle versus Minnesota Rocker. Massive match for champs qualification. We're going to see a lot of these like Minnesota, Seattle, Miami, LAG Thieves, like all playing each other. These matches are all going to be huge as everybody tries to get on like 170 points. Well, I just think the problem for Minnesota in this one and why I think it could be a Seattle 3-0 is that Minnesota's really only lifeline is to win searches, and Seattle's a much better respawn team. They've been a little bit more improved in control. So I'm going to say Seattle 3-0 because I do not believe at all in this Minnesota Rocker team. So if you want to take the -1.5 for Seattle +100 or just take a 3-0 straight up 3-0, I think it could be a good player under 4.5, whatever you want. This one. Thieves, Boston. Okay. So I'm curious to see the fan predictions on this one. 95. Oh, so 90-10. Thieves for Boston, and they have not lost to Boston at all this year. They played them twice. I'm gonna say Thieves game 5 because I still don't trust these guys, even though they'll probably win 3-0, 3-1. But Boston game 5, can't trust them to win that. I'll take Thieves 3. All right, now we get to actually like a good matchup. This is a W matchup right here. Atlanta FaZe versus the New York Subliners should be good. They played a couple of times. And I will say that FaZe has definitely had the angle on this one more recently at the major, in which New York really just took an S&D, and that was basically it in the series. It was not 3-0, 3-1. It was 3-0, and FaZe won all 3 maps. So I take that back. The 3-1, I believe, was actually online when they played earlier in the split, and New York had taken a control high rise. I mean, I just don't like the hardpoint matchup for New York here. And I think there's a very good likelihood that FaZe really take 3 respawns in this series. So 3-1, I would say correct score 3-1 will actually be probably a decent bet for this one, which I'm looking at it right now is a +160 for FaZe, but you can do 225 if you think they're going to 3-0. That could be a potential play here. I think FaZe, again, have probably put a lot of work in their S&D, so if they are playing the way they were playing a respawn at the event and they're good at search, I think they're going to blow New York out pretty comfortably in this one. I just don't see it for New York right now, but who knows? And then to close things out, OPTIC Texas versus Vegas Legion. And, for OPTIC, I just don't see them losing this match. They've only, the only losses they have had in the last couple of months have all been to Toronto and to FaZe. And that's basically it. I just don't see it. They actually have not, I'm looking at how they played Vegas this season. They played them the beginning of last split, and they 3-0'd them when Vegas were playing with ASIM, and they beat them game 5 during the first stage. So twice online. I'm gonna say OPTIC Texas. Do I want to give Vegas a map? Like, what map would they even take against OPTIC? Rio Hardpoint, like any of the hardpoints? Not really. Vegas aren't a great S&D team. Could they steal a control? Like maybe. I'm gonna take OPTIC 3-0. I feel pretty good that that's the most likely outcome, so we'll lock that in. Okay, so this is the matches that we got. No major. I just cannot pick any major upsets. Like I think I want to convince myself to take Boston over Minnesota. I just can't. It's not doable. LAG over Carolina, maybe. LAG over Thieves. I just LAG's only won online 5 times. Like I can't take them serious. I just want to force myself to take upsets in these situations. I just can't. I just can't. So this is what it is. I got Seattle with a 1-1 week, Minnesota 1-1. So that's kind of big for champ standings. And Toronto getting off to a 2-0 start. New York going 1-1. OPTIC and FaZe getting victories. OPTIC actually going 2-0. So I think the top dogs are going to get 3 or 4 wins plus 5, 6 and do well. It's just a question of all of these mid-pack teams, how they split some of these matchups against each other. So excited to see how it plays out starting on Friday. All right, so let me know in the comments what you guys think of the video. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.